Welcome to Clack.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Molly.
And today we interviewed Matt Rice.
You might know him through Terra Kendama, Grain Theory, and Deal With It Kendamas.
Matt is a pro player for Terra Kendama. He also is co-owner of Grain Theory and owns his own kendama company called Deal With It. You were one of the first kendama players in the U.S., and how did you discover kendama?
I first saw it was in the credits of like a rollerblade video. I just saw they went on tour to Japan, and then in the credits there was some guy just kind of jamming one, and I was like, what is that thing? So I just kind of looked online for a while trying to figure out the name of it, because it didn't really say the name of it. It was just people jamming kind of like in an airport. And then just kind of research online, finally found the name, and then tried to find one in San Francisco for like a week, and I never could find any of them. So I've eventually found a Red TK online, and that was like my first Dama. But yeah, it was definitely a Blade video. I want to say it was like a Solomon tour video.
So how do the skills from rollerblading transfer over to kendama for you?
In blading, you don't really use your hands that much, so
Fair.
Try and avoid using your hands. But I guess just like, it's still like hand-eye coordination. Just hand-eye coordination, and then kind of trick selection. You can just be creative and do whatever tricks you want. Like, that's why I always say like Dom is like skating, because it's like you can never win, and everyone can just do whatever they want, and it just comes down to like style at that point.
So for rollerblading, do you think that's how kendama actually came to the U.S. is through rollerblading?
I think for a lot of people, yeah. I know when I started, Kendama USA wasn't around yet, and they didn't make their video, because when Kendama USA made their first video, I don't know if people knew, but like everybody in it was like a really, really famous rollerblader. Like every single person was like a world famous rollerblader. I think J-Ro kind of did that on purpose to, because all these dudes have influence in this other industry. So it's like, well, and they're all his homies because he's a photographer. So they're all like, he knows everybody. So it was kind of like, by the time it got big in blading, I was like already doing it. But then I know in blading, it was like really popular for like a year. And it was like every shop had them, every place in the world had them, just because of all those like famous dudes got them. So I think for a lot of people, that is how it started. But then once I found like videos online, there was like other dudes that I got into it through like skiing and stuff. So I don't really know. I know blading definitely helped in the beginning.
Yeah, because I remember that was the first kendama video I actually saw, was the one with like Alex Broskow and everything in it. At that exact time, I had just gotten like a pair of roller skates from like my friend, and they were Ollie Short Pro models, and I had like a little Razor scooter rail that I would just like jam in my driveway, and that was actually the first Kendama USA video I saw, was like all of the rollerbladers, and I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know that they were connected at first, but I don't know, that's kind of how my understanding of how it like became popular was through like Jeremy and through rollerblading, at least at first.
Yeah, I think at first it was definitely a big push, at least in the States. Well, kind of all over too, because I remember all the European skate shops had kendamas for a while too, and then it just like anything, it's like, oh, you still do that? It's lame. So it lasted a little bit, but it didn't last forever. But I still think a lot of people, like I know Sander, but I don't know if Sander got in it through blading. I know a bunch of people got it in through skiing, but
yeah,
I think the first real boom was probably blading, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, when it blew up in my town, it was because of skiing and because of Turner and stuff. And so I think like it was rollerblading and then skiing next, I feel like. What year did you start playing?
2008, yeah, 2008.
Wow. Dang.
I made a video maybe like 9 years ago. I remember like looking online trying to find out what you could do with this thing, and it was like I just remember at the time being like, there was nobody in America playing. It was just like these Japanese videos, and it was like some guy in a hallway like wearing all black, and they were all really weird. And then I remember finding like I think it was a Yord or a Sander video, and I was just like, whoa, there's like dudes in America doing this thing. Yeah, I just remember like finding a video of maybe Sander in a ski shop or something, and then just I think at the time I was riding a lot of bikes, so I was just making a lot of videos, like blade videos and bike videos, and I was just like, I should make a kendama thing.
How have you seen the kendama community evolve since you've been playing?
I think it's just gotten just way bigger and just way more technical. One thing I've noticed is that I know, like, when I started, it was like kendama was kind of one thing that I did on top of like other stuff. Like I was into blading and bikes, and I played kendama on the side. And one thing I've noticed with the new generation, well, there's so many new generations. I thought Stod was like a new generation, but now there's kids even under him that are like super next gen. So that's the one thing that I think is really new, is that like there's kids now that like they don't do anything. Like when I was in high school, all I did was go skating. I was like, I'm gonna go skate, I'm gonna film it and make a video. That's my whole life. And when I played Dama, it was like, oh, I just did Dama, and that was just like one thing I did as well. And now there's like kids that like they don't skate, they don't do anything, all they do is Dama. So I feel like that's a big change from when I started. Like kids that's all they do. They just like get home from school, go film, and like they don't have skating or bikes or anything. It's just kendama, which is great because I think it's pushed it to a crazy level.
No, I think so too. I feel like the older people in the community, like yourself and myself, and we have other hobbies that we do. Like a lot of us don't just do one thing, and so I feel like that's maybe why some of the younger generation has gotten so good, is because like, I mean, I remember when I got home from school, I would go to gymnastics every day, and that's what I did my whole life. But my gymnastics is like their kendama, or soccer or whatever. And so I feel like, just being a kid and having your thing, like that's all you do and it's all you focus on. A lot of kids don't have a lot of hobbies.
Yeah, you focus all that time. You don't have a job. You don't have to, study for exams every other day. You really focus your time on kendama.
Yeah, totally. Especially if even if you're just in college, you have way more free time, but definitely like high school level, it's just like, and it's like when they started, I remember when I started, it was like, if I can learn how to do this lunar trick, like I'm done. Like that's impossible. I'll never do it. It'll just never happen. And then obviously it's gotten to a crazy level. So for me, when I started, it was like lunar is impossible. Now it's like a kid starts playing and the first trick he sees is like 7 taps. And you're just like, okay, like it's just like anything. It's just like back to skating. It's like, you know what I mean? Like kids nowadays, when they start, it's like, oh yeah, kickflip front board on a 7, that's normal. You know what I mean? But back in the day, that was like, I don't know, just when they start, it's already so progressed, and they don't do anything else.
Do you think that kids that get into it now haven't learned like the basic tricks or the traditional tricks in kendama?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because like we were at a gym in Chattanooga, and it was like kids didn't know. I mean, I'm not the best with like the JKA style tricks and stuff like that, but like speed trick B and things like, there was kids that couldn't do speed trick B, but were filming like 5 taps. I'm sure some old grumpy dude is like, that's lame, they should know speed trick B, and I don't really care, honestly. Like, do whatever you want to do. Like, people take it a little too seriously maybe these days. It's just like, if you want to do 8 taps, go ahead. If you don't want to learn the basics, then that's fine. But it kind of shows through though. Like after a while, if they haven't learned the basics, you can kind of tell. It's just like all they can do is like one style of trick. So I think kids get too focused in like one style of trick. So if you don't learn the basics, you don't really know what's possible.
So when did you start Deal With It, and tell us a little bit about your company?
Deal With It started it started out as like a blog like 6 or 7 years ago. It basically just started as a blog because I'm always like following all these industries. Like I follow like skating and cycling and dama and yo-yo and skimming and stuff. So I like followed all these industries, and I would always be like, every industry has their one blog. Like if you're in the kendama, in the beginning for dama, it was like, oh, my edit got on Ken Garden, or like skiing has like news schoolers, and blading has like roller news and stuff. So like every industry has that one like big famous blog kind of thing that everyone sort of wants to get onto. But like for me, it was like there weren't any that were like a bunch of things at once, and there was a bunch of people at the time that were really into rollerblading, like fixed gear bikes, and kendama, and it was like, man, I know a lot of people that are into these 3 things, so like I'm just gonna make a blog about all of them. And like the idea was like, if you don't like rollerblading, maybe you'll come to the blog because you're into like fixed gears. So you come to the blog, look at for fixed gears, and you see a rollerblade video. Like I'm only posting stuff that I think looks cool. So if it's like someone will come for dama or bikes, then maybe they'll see a rollerblade video and they go, hey, this isn't as lame as I thought. And the same goes for dama or bikes. Like if you're a blader and you've never seen like a cool kendama edit, and you've only seen this stuff, and you're like, I don't really like kendama. So the idea was kind of like to try and get people into other things, you know, because when I was a kid, it was like all I liked was blading, and that was it. And if you didn't blade, there's really no reason to talk to you or be friends with you or anything. And then but now as I got older, it's like, you know what, I'd rather be good at a bunch of things than like really good at just like one thing. So that's kind of why I started Deal With It. It just started out as a blog for like forever. Yeah, for like 6 or 7 years. And it was just like just posting videos, because I would always like see these videos on other blogs, and it was like, oh, I already saw that video. So like I would find these videos before all these other blogs. I was like, I should just make my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so do you still run that page pretty often? Is it a regular thing that you keep up with?
Yeah, it's not as, like, I used to be really gnarly about it and do a lot of original content and stuff, and I had people, like, my other bike messenger friends, like, we had a segment called, like, Messenger Mondays, where we interview messengers and do stuff, so I had a lot more original content, and, like, I did, like, Deal With It TV things, where I would make, like, rollerblade edits or track bike edits, and Dom edits and stuff, and, I was way more on top of it, but then once I started, like, the Dama side of Deal With It, I'm not as, like, on top of it, but I still post, like, I don't know, it used to be, like, 1 million posts a day, and now it's, like, once every other day, or maybe once every 3 days, something like that. So at least, like, 2 or 3 times a week, I still keep up with it. Grain theory and, like, the Dama side of Deal With It has kind of, like, taken over my life, so.
Yeah, what are the inspirations for your kendama designs?
Just kind of, I don't know, just stuff I want to buy, essentially. It's just like, man, I really want to, like, when I started, like, I always wanted a grayscale kendama, and it was just like, man, like, how come no one's done this? It seems like, why hasn't anyone done it yet? So I'm just like, I'll make one. So that, my main thing is, like, for Grain Theory and Deal With It, I pretty much just make stuff that I want to buy, and then in hopes that other people want to buy it too. So it's like, I never really, I'm like, what's going to sell? Like, oh, is blue the hot color? Like, I'm going to do blue. It's just like, I just make stuff I want to buy. Like, that's it. That's like the only thing I've ever done, really. But yeah, we get crazy inspiration from everything. I don't know, just tons of stuff.
Yeah, that's a very, like, honest way to run a company, though, which I totally respect. I think that's cool. And you have so many different kendama, like, colors and colorways and designs and stuff, too. So I think there is a dama from Deal With It that anyone could like, or someone has an option, you know? So I think you do a good job of that. But tell me about Grain Theory and what's your involvement with that?
So Grain Theory is me and Jake. We own it together. We started it, 4 years ago? He was doing Ken Garden, and this was before I was doing Deal With It, like before I was selling Damas with it, and it was always just, I don't know, we'd been in the game so long, and other people had been in the game maybe not as long, and they had companies, and we're doing this stuff, and it was like, man, like, why don't we do this? Like, we've been doing it longer than X, Y, and Z, and they've got companies, so, like, maybe we should do it, you know? So that was like, I just wanted to do it, and I just came to Jake and was like, Jake, I'm starting a kendama company. You're either in or you're not in, because I knew, like, I think his goal long-term with Ken Garden was, like, turn it into a kendama company, because this was before he got on Kendama USA. He was just doing Ken Garden full-time, so it was like, I was like, I'm doing it, you're either with me or you're not. So then we just kind of joined forces, and then we slowly made it work.
Did you meet Jake through rollerblading or through kendama?
I met Jake through school, actually. We both went to film school, and but kind of through blading. Like, he was in, like, blading's just like Dama, where it's like, if you see someone wearing a Dama shirt or playing Dama, you're going to go up to him and be friends with him, because it's this weird subculture. I honestly think blading is smaller than Kendama at this point. So he was in my art history class, and he had a rollerblade shirt on, and I was like, dude, you rollerblade? Like, no way, I couldn't believe it. So we met through blading. Well, we met through school, but he had a blade shirt on, and I just was like, hey, you blade? Like, we should go skate. So then we just started skating, and I'd known Jake for years before either of us had a kendama. So definitely met through blading first. Then I ended up seeing it in that video, and I had one. I remember showing it to Jake in the beginning, and he was like, kind of took it or leave it. He wasn't like super into it, and then eventually, like 2 or 3 weeks later, I think he finally got one, and then that kind of started his, you know, ascension in the Dama world, I guess.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't talked to Jake that day, things could be totally different.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean, if Jake wasn't in my art history class and wasn't wearing a Blade shirt that day, I really wouldn't have talked to him just because, I don't know, I'm not the most social person, so.
Alternate reality of kendama.
I know kendama like may not actually be around because like you two are like two of the earliest pioneers of it, so.
It's crazy to think because like, and it wasn't even like we were both there for film, but it was like, you know, they do everything and they make you take certain general classes, so it wasn't even like in a film class too. That was really weird. It's just like an art history class that kind of like an elective or whatever, but yeah, pretty crazy.
You do it full time now, right? You're full kendama?
Yeah, I do kendama full time now. Yeah, ever since I moved to Portland, about 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago. Yeah, I've been doing it full time. When I was in SF, I had a lot of day jobs, so I did like, that's what I tell people. I had like three day jobs, and I did kendama. Then I had 2 day jobs, and I did kendama. Then 1 and dama, and then finally I was able to do it just kendama. So I was only really able to do it full time because doing deal with it as well. Because it's like, because when I started doing the deal with it damas, it was kind of just like, I have like homies that blade or people that are like I would just meet or friends of friends would be like, man, I really want to get a dama, and I'd be like, oh well, I own this company Grain Theory and they're $100, you know, and they're like, you're out of your mind. Like, if you've never played kendama, you're really not going to pay $100 for one. Everyone's so hard on their first dama, and it's like, I don't know, definitely. Yeah, so my whole thing was like, I'm just going to, you know, get a small box of damas, like, for the homies, like, not really planning on making Deal With It its own, like, dama company with a team and everything. It really wasn't the goal early on. It was kind of just like, some damas for the homies, and like, you know, people would want a dama from me and I'd be sending them away like, no, yeah, go buy somebody else's because you can't afford mine, or you're not that into it yet, so like, you know, you're not going to want to buy Grain Theory at that point, you know. So it was like, I should just have a cheap, you know, have like basically like have both price points covered, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if you want a $20 dama, like, I got you. If you want a $100 dama, like, I got you too. So like, that was my whole goal with it.
Yeah, so are both of the damas for Deal With It and for Grain Theory made in the U.S., or where are they manufactured?
No, Grain Theories are made all here in Tennessee, in Chattanooga, and then the Deal With It's are all made overseas.
But you've designed the shape for Deal With It, and you've completely come up with that design by yourself, right?
Yeah, well, it's like you have, like, you can mess with it to a certain degree without paying a ton of money, so you can mess with it quite a bit to make it your own when you go through China, which I don't think a lot of people know, but yeah, definitely tweaked it a bunch.
How did you come up with the shapes for Grain Theory then?
Me and Jake just sat around trying to make the best kendama we possibly could, really. And like, I remember at the time it was all about lunars, like everything was about lunars, like making kendamas that was good at lunars was like everything, which I don't know if that's such an obsession anymore. I mean, I know people still do a lot of lunars, but like, I don't know, in the beginning, the only thing that seemed to matter was like, can you lunar it? I don't know if it's still that way. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, our whole goal was like, make a really solid dama that's good for lunars, but also good for like every trick.
At the time when Grain Theory first came out, there actually wasn't too many kendamas that were good for lunars right out of the box. Like, it would either take some cup smashing or time breaking it in. But yeah, no, there wasn't really one at the time that I can think of that actually was like super solid for lunar specifically.
I mean, I don't think that when we sat down we're like, okay, how do we make a dama that's amazing for lunar? Like, I don't think that was like our only goal, but it was kind of just like, yeah, like, what do we want to see that's not out there kind of thing, you know? Like, that's one thing we've talked about too. It's like, with Grain Theory, like, oh, well, me and Jake, you know, should we give ourselves pro models? Like, that seems to be a thing, and then, but it's like, wait a minute, like, the GT1 is me and Jake's pro model, you know what I mean? Like, we designed it, so it's like, that's ours, you know what I mean? So
tell us a bit about your teams, like both the Prospect team on Grain Theory and the Deal With It team.
Well, Prospect for our Grain Theory team was basically just people we'd known when we started it. It was like, we didn't add anyone on the team that we didn't actually meet, except Stod. I remember we had a group chat with a bunch of the guys that went on the kindergarten tour, and I remember somebody mentioned a video about this kid named Stod, and it was like, when it first came out, it was pretty like mind-blowing how good he was and like how insane it was, and I just remember being like, yo, we got to get this guy on the team. He's like definitely the future of kendama. And I remember Jake being a little apprehensive about it because we'd never met him, you know, because it's like, if you can't hang out with the person, it's, you know, if you can't be in a hotel room for the weekend, it's like, I don't really care how good you are at kendama, you know what I mean? Like, so that was the only thing with Stod. We never met him, but then it worked out because Stod's a shit. So, but yeah. So as far as Green Theory, it was just people we knew and trying to make it unique as possible, so not every person plays the same.
Everyone on the team kind of does have their own style, and everyone is really good. So, good
yeah,
picks.
that was like our thing, just like unique styles and homies that we've known that we wanted to put on, you know, and then it's grown from there, from, you know, recommendations from people on the team, or just, yeah, you know, it's slowly grown.
And then you have the prospect mods and everything that came out of it.
Yeah, we did the prospect mods, and then that's the thing with Green Theory, like, we're in a position to where, like, if we're gonna make somebody pro, it's gonna be more than just, like, you know, burns and a colorway, which is totally fine, because other people it's harder to do depending where they're made. But where ours are made, like, we can go and design one. So for us, it's like, if you're pro, we're gonna go there and design a whole new shape, like, from the ground up. But like for prospect, it was like, we kind of got the idea from the yo-yo world, where it's like, in the yo-yo world, to have like one yo-yo and just do a bunch of colorways. Well, I guess they have that in the skate world too. So that was our idea with the prospect model, was like, okay, it's all the same shape, but everyone gets their own colorway, and then that way it's like personalizes it, and like we put a little money in their pockets. So for everyone that sells, like, you know, they get money. So
that's good. That's a good way to support the team. All right, so tell us about the Deal With It players. How do you pick who's on that team?
Deal With It was a little different. It was just kind of, since Green Theory is like me and Jake, so, you know, we have to run everything by each other and agree on everything. And Deal With It is just me, so it's like I can just do whatever I want, really. And so with that, I just pick people, kind of the same thing. Like, I just look for players that are just like more creative players, I guess.
I like what you do with the Deal With It team, because it's not just people who are, all they do is like live and breathe kendama, and it's not like the best in the game, but it's some of the most like also well known, and you have a really well-rounded team. Like, you just added Kozoroff to the team, right?
Yeah,
and I mean, she's like one of the funniest, like most active kendama players. Can she do like the hardest tricks in the game? No, but everyone loves her, and so that's a great person to rep your company.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I was at with it, because it's honestly like, every little kid is so good now. Like, literally, you'll go to a jam, and there's like 10 kids that you've never heard of, that never even made a video, that are like absolutely amazing at kendama. So it's like, there's a million of those kids out there, and I don't know, I always really liked Kozo's videos. I just love them. It's like, can't watch her video and not be smiling at the end of it. It's just like, she's always posting so much time. And that's one thing too, is like, with skating too, it's like, I like people that look like they're having fun. Like, I've gone out to, you know, and filmed a trick for 4 hours, 5 hours or whatever, and not landed it, and like, it's not that fun, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that play like that, and it's like, are you having fun? I mean, you want to have fun, I mean, you want to push the envelope, but like, I don't know, I just like someone that's like, whether she did the hardest trick or not, it pretty much looks like she's having more fun than you. Like, her videos just make me smile, and she definitely loves the game and is passionate about it, so it was like, yeah, like, why not put her on a team, you know what I mean? Like, she's not going to do 9 taps, but I don't really care, because there's already a guy for that. If you want to see that, like, well, that's the thing, like, if you want to see crazy technical stuff, like, that's why I put Jared on the team, you know what I mean? If you want to see somebody, like, having more fun, like, you can go watch, you know, Kozo. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So what makes someone pro, like, thinking about the skate community and how there was a time in skateboarding where amateur and pro kind of meshed, and there was this whole, talk about it, and how it kind of made people that deserve to be pro not pro, and people that don't deserve to be pro not deserve to be pro. In kendama, like, how does that work?
That's tough, honestly. It's kind of like, I'm sure it's unique to each company, you know? But for us, like, for Green Theory, essentially, it would be, it's kind of just time put in, like, how long you've been in the game, and definitely, like, skill level, I think, comes into it. But also, like, what else you do for Dama, you know what I mean? Like, are you throwing jams? Are you online? How do you act online? Maybe it's just, like, your overall, it's, like, definitely overall, like, certain personalities work for that. I mean, depending what company you play for as well, it's, like, if you play for, like, Sweets or Kendama USA or something like that, like, you're gonna need to be able to like go to that school and like be in front of a bunch of little kids and like be fine with it. You can be really good at kendama, but like as soon as someone puts you in a situation like that, it's just like a nightmare, you know? It just doesn't work right, or they're just not good at it, you know? I mean, not everyone has to be super social, but like, I don't know, there's like there's more to being pro than just being good at tricks kind of thing. And for us, it's like, for Grain Theory, it's definitely just like an overall package kind of thing. Like, how active are you? You know, what are you doing besides like filming yourself? Are you like throwing events, and like how are you online? Things like that. I don't know. It's kind of just an overall package, I guess, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is kind of a gray area though, because like I've gotten the question like, what makes someone pro? What makes someone pro? And it's so hard to answer it.
No, it really is hard to answer. I don't really know. Yeah, it's definitely hard to answer, and like definitely different for every company as well too. It's like I think a lot of kids, it's just like, oh, well, how come that person's not pro? And it's like, for a bigger company, like, it's not that easy to just like snap your fingers and like, oh, they're pro, you know what I mean? Like, these things take time, you gotta design it, you know what I mean? Like, you could design a kendama tomorrow, and if you're getting it made overseas and you're getting it made on a huge scale, like, you know, Kusa or Swedes or something, it's like, these things could take a year, you know what I mean, to like make it work. And then you've got a million people. I don't know, it's hard to, when you have big teams, to like, you know, you gotta like monitor everybody and like see what they're doing, and it can be really tough, you know, because I think it's really hard if you have a bigger team to figure out like who's pro, who should be pro, you know. But I think you kind of just know.
So you just had a kid recently. How old is Leo?
Leo turned 3 just in the end of January. So he's 3 years old and he's chilling. He's talking like crazy now, and he's all over the place. He's definitely like his own human now, which is really weird. Because before it was just kind of, I don't know. Once they start to become their own person, you're just like, whoa, this is like a human being.
What are you gonna do if Leo doesn't like kendama?
Oh my god, I don't know. You know, people ask me that all the time, and it's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where there's some kids where it's like, if their parents, they like do everything opposite of their parents, but then some kids follow their parents, you know. It's like, oh, like my dad was into mountain biking, so now like I'm super into mountain biking or something like that, you know. Like, so I don't know if he's gonna see it and want to do it, or see it and not want to do it. I mean, right now he's pretty interested in it. He likes watching it, like watching me play and stuff, but he'll try, and he can't really do anything yet. And if I try and teach, like, he'll be holding it crazy, and I'll try and like, okay, hold it like this. And as soon as I come over to like try and help him, he just puts it down and runs away. It's just like, no. So, you know, it's one of those things where you like can't force your kid into it, you know. But like, I think, you know, at least when he's younger, he'll probably be into it for a little bit at least, you know. I don't know if he'll go as, you know, play it as long as I am, but maybe.
So do you think that Portland has been a good move for you as far as the kendama scene from living in San Francisco?
There's a lot of players up here, but I still play alone mostly, honestly. I kind of always have. Jake was always the super social guy and always throwing all the events and stuff like that, and I mean, I was always there, but I was never a guy to like throw the events and stuff, so but no, there's a lot of players up here, and I really like it up here, so I think overall it's been good. I think it's been good for, I think it's been better for the business, just because when we were doing Grain Theory in San Francisco, it was like, both had day jobs and we had an office, and it was like, okay, like we're gonna do the drop on Tuesday, and then a bunch of things happen and we don't get to the office till next Wednesday, and like, I don't know, but since we moved here, we kind of defined our roles a bit more, so it's just like the company works better essentially. But for business, it's been better just because like everything's here and I can get everything out and do all that side of it just like one person, so it makes it a little easier for that. And there's a ton of dominant players here, and they do a jam every week, and for a while Two Bears was doing jams and Demo was doing jams, so I know the COTK jam is like every week.
Yeah,
so
they've done a good job keeping up with that.
Yeah, they've been killing it with that, so.
Thanks for the interview, Matt. If you don't already follow Terra Kendama, Deal With It SF, or Grain Theory, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, we'll be putting their Instagram names in the bio below, so you can go ahead and follow them. Yeah, thanks for your time, Matt. It was great interviewing you, and be sure to subscribe to Click Clack Radio. So to those who follow Click Clack Radio, you know that we hosted a contest over the last week. In episode 2, we had Josh Grove with us, and he donated a bonsai kendama for us to give away to you guys.
And we have just picked the winner for that contest.
And the winner is King Felix King. We'll be sending you a message to get your address and send you this bonsai.